Hi everybody, welcome back to the final session of Core Vipassana Season 10. In today's session, we're going to talk about MCP, Agent Development Kit, A2A, all new terms, everything in trend, and what better way to end the season, right? So let's get started. What you'll learn in this session is basically how to create a local MCP server, then deploy that server to Cloud Run, then how to build an agent using the agent development kit that uses the MCP as an MCP tools that you just created. Then how do you expose the ADK agent as an A2A server? And then we'll also go ahead and test the A2A server using an A2A client. A lot of things in the lab today, very exciting. Let's go ahead and do this. So as usual, before we start, before you begin steps, prerequisites that we need to follow. Let's go to console.cloud.google.com. You can go ahead and work in an existing project if you need to. If you want, you can just go ahead and make a new project. I will just make a new project right now, that is S10-finale, and I will click on create. Once the project is created, we can click on select project, and that will set our project as the current project. Make sure that you know your project ID, as this is very important for all the steps and we will need this in the future. For now, let's go ahead. We have already set up the project. Let's ensure we have billing enabled and then start up the Google Cloud Shell. So to check if your billing is enabled, just click on billing. It will lead you to a billing page. Scroll down, come to credits. All you need to see is a remaining value of $5, even $3.5, $4 is fine. Just make sure you have some value of credits in your Google Cloud account. If you have exhausted through your previous credits, don't worry, just go through the Code Vipassana email that was sent to you on the day of the lab and you can redeem credits using that link. So let's go to the home page and let's start up a Cloud Shell terminal now. So what you can do is just activate the Cloud Shell terminal from here and open it in a new window so it's full size, and let's just close it from here. Keep this page open, we'll need it later. Authorize this, and you can see that we have our Cloud Shell terminal open. That's great. So let's proceed with the further steps. So we always like to run these two commands first to know how does our Cloud Shell configured right now. So gcloud auth list will always tell you what account is currently connected to your terminal, and gcloud config list project will tell you what project is currently set inside your terminal. You can see that the account that is active is my account right now, but the project is unset. So let's go ahead and set our project first. How do you set your project first? Well, for this lab, what you can do is you can export your project ID as a variable. So let's go ahead and do that. Just backspace all the way until the equal to sign and just put in your project ID. For me, that's my project ID. And in the next set, we can just take gcloud config set project and set our project ID. If everything works well, you can see I have my project ID here in yellow, so we're good to go. The next thing that we need to do is we need to enable some APIs. These APIs will help us work in this project and help us build. So just paste this command, wait for some time. If it takes a lot of time, just press Ctrl C and then just run the command again. Don't worry about it. It takes some time, quite a few times. So just let it happen. You will see an operation completed successfully message soon. You can see that the operation has completed successfully and we can proceed with the codelab. Step 8, which is make sure that you have Python 3.10 plus. You do not have to worry about this if you're using the console.google.com page and you're using the Cloud Shell and Cloud Editor. It already takes care of that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to get all the code, get our package manager. This time, to teach you something new, instead of using pip and creating virtual environments, we'll be using UV. You can see how it works when we implement it. So the first thing that we will do is go ahead and clone the repository currency-agent. You can see the repository has been cloned. Next, we will go inside this directory and let's see the contents of the directory. It has another currency-agent folder, an MCP server folder, and some files. That's great. The next thing that we do is let's install UV to manage the dependency. So just run this command if you're running in the Cloud Shell, which is just going to install UV on your Cloud Shell. And the next thing that we'll do is we'll just configure our project dependencies in an env file. My bad, not dependencies, secrets. So you can see that by just pressing echo GenAI vertex AI true, project ID and central one, we've just created an .env file. So now if I just say let's go do a cat.env, which is basically a command that will help us see the contents of this file, then you can see our project ID is set and everything looks great. That's great. Let's go ahead and proceed. The next thing that we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a local MCP server. Well, we can have a look at the code for this in the MCP server code. So let's go ahead and open our folder. You can see inside of MCP server we have the server file where we're using the fast MCP package, which is very similar to fast API, and we're using that to host our own MCP server that for now is working on USD to euros, and it is connecting to the Frankfurter open source API. So that's what this is doing right now. Let's go ahead and implement this. What we need to do to implement this is simply take this command, go back to our terminal, paste it, and you can see UV will automatically create a virtual environment for us. It will go ahead, install all the dependencies, and then start the server and serve it on port 8080. That's wonderful. So what we'll go ahead and also do is we'll go ahead and test this out. So let's open a new Cloud Shell terminal, and we are already, our project is set, but we are not inside the folder we need to be inside. So let's go ahead inside cd currency agent and then run this command to test our MCP server. You can see that we have found the tool called get exchange rate. We're calling the rate tool, converting from USD to euros. We passed an amount for 1, and as per the current date it gave us the amount. That's great. So it works. The next thing that we do is we can, before we move on to the next step, let's just stop the MCP server that is running. So let's go back to the MCP server that is running and we can stop it. You can see that here we received a successful request. So that's great. The next thing that we need to do is we need to deploy our MCP server to Cloud Run. What are the benefits of serving an MCP server remotely? Well, it helps us scale it. So Cloud Run can automatically rapidly scale to handle all incoming requests. So let's say you just make your MCP server open source or share the API for it or the code for it, and 100 people just start using it. Cloud Run will automatically handle that for you, and you can just handle all the permissions, all the security, everything. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead inside the MCP server directory and just deploy the MCP server file. So let's go ahead inside the MCP server directory. You can see I'm inside currency agent inside MCP server, and we will copy this command, go ahead and paste it. What this will do is gcloud run deploy the MCP server folder, which has a Docker file, and then it will also help us allow authenticated. So let's go ahead and do this. It will take some time to deploy, don't worry about that. It says deploying it will be created. Do you want to continue? We press Y and go ahead with it. You can see that the process has started. It will take some time. Let it do its thing and it'll be done very quickly. Okay, that's great. You can see that this service has been deployed and is serving 100% of the traffic, and this is the service URL that we have. That's great. The next thing that we can do is we can just go ahead and create a proxy for this server. So let's just go ahead and run a proxy for this server. And what this will do is this will just start serving this server on our local host so that we can just use it locally in any of our applications without calling it through the API. So you can see that it is serving these proxies to that server. That's great. Again, the next thing that we'll do is we'll just go ahead and test the remote MCP server. So we will go outside one directory and then run this uv command. So let's just open a new terminal. We have to leave the Cloud Run proxy running for the rest of the codelab. So let's just go to this terminal in the root directory. So let's go inside the currency agent where we want to be. That's where we want to be. And what we'll go ahead and do is run this uv command that will help us test our server. If everything works well, we should be getting a successful command like last time, and great. It is able to fetch it from here, and you can see that the proxy did actually serve the result and we were able to get a result. So let's just see if the remote server was actually called. So we will have a look at the logs and the logs for the MCP server, and you can see that it was actually called. If you can just look at here, so that's great. Let's proceed with the next step. So the next step that we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and create the agent with the agent development kit. The code for the currency agent is already in the currency agent agent.py file. So let's just open the editor and have a look at it. So if you see, there is a currency agent agent.py file. It gives a system instruction to the agent, which is it gives it a persona, it gives it some instructions. After that, we have a function called create agent where we define the model name, which is 2.5 Flash, which is the latest Flash model that we have from Gemini. We give it the system instruction, and we use the streamable HTTP connection params and use the MCP toolset tool to connect our MCP to this agent so the agent can use it and call it as a tool. So what we can do as a next step is just go ahead and run this agent inside our web. So make sure you're inside the currency agent main directory, and just let's go ahead and run this command. So uv run ADK web. If you are inside the current directory, what it will do is it will just go ahead and run the ADK web dev UI, where you can go ahead and interact with the agent. You can see that the ADK web server has started. It is serving on port 8000. So we can go to web preview, change port. Let's change it to port 8000 and click on change in preview. And it should load up the web UI. If you select an agent, select the currency agent, you should be able to see a platform like this. To test it out, let's just go ahead and give it a query. Maybe something like what is 250 Canadian dollars to US dollars. So let's say what is 250 US dollars in Canadian dollars. We will just reverse it to see if the agent can handle it, and we will see if it can call the MCP tool, get it correctly, and sure, it's saying that it can provide us with the exchange rate. So let's go ahead and ask it to do that. Let's say yes. And it says that the exchange rate is that much. So that's great, it works, and you can see in the ADK dev web UI that it was able to get everything and successfully retrieve and call the tool, because you can see the get exchange rate correctly got it from USD to CAD, and then it got the amount as 1.3688 Canadian US dollars. That's great. The next thing that we'll do is we'll also play around a little bit with the agent to agent protocol. So the agent to agent protocol is an open standard, and it is just basically designed to make sure that your agents that are developed in different platforms, frameworks, languages can all communicate together using one unified interface. So essentially what it requires is it requires an agent card, an agent skill, and multiple different, you know, it can require multiple different tools, etc., and allow you to connect all of them. An agent skill is how we advertise to other agents that we have a tool. So let's say we define a skill that is agent skill, and here we attach our tool that will help us perform our action. After that, using an agent card, we actually define the agent with the host, and we define the input, output, capabilities, etc., and we're able to run the agent. So the next thing that we do is we put all of this together with our A2A server. So if you just come to step 8 is that we're actually going to go ahead, have a look at the ADK files, then run our own A2A server and go ahead and test it. So firstly, what we need to do to run our own A2A server is just go ahead and use this one simple command, that is uv run currency underscore agent. What this will go ahead and do is just go to the currency underscore agent folder and run the main file, which will also include the A2A server, and it will help us run it. So let's just go ahead and do that. If you see, if we copy this command, paste it here and press enter, you will see that it says that it is running MCP tools and creating the ADK currency agent, and it is serving it on port 10,000 as we expected it. So that's great. This is how we're expecting it, and the next thing that we'll do is test the A2A server. Now, one thing that you should note is that when you run this command, you might not get a successful output always. You might get a 503 error like this, but that is completely fine. These are just some bugs that are being figured out right now, or it might be an issue with your network. It's a lot of different things, but let me show you a way that you'll know that this works. Just paste it, and you can see right now all it says is that the server has started and it is serving on port 10,000. If we press enter here, and if I go back to the previous tab, you can see it's actually loaded everything. It is calling Gemini, it is returning a response, it is again calling Gemini, it has gotten the answer. 100 USD is 136.88 Canadian dollars, but then sometimes you will still get a 503 error indicating a network communication error. So do not worry about it, do not get disheartened if you get this kind of an error. Your ADK A2A server is working correctly, and just don't worry about it. Try again, 2-3 times, and it should be working. And that is pretty much it about ADK, A2A, and MCP. All of these are very useful when you're trying to build agents and multi-agent architectures. You can also check out the A2A samples repository to see more advanced use cases when it comes to A2A. So this is an official repository of A2A samples. So just go ahead, check it out if you're interested in that, and congratulations, you have completed how to build and get started with MCP, ADK, and A2A. And we hope that you learned a lot this season at Code Vipassana. It is a milestone season for us, season 10. We hope to see you again next season with more energy, with more excitement. You can always connect with us at Discord, comment down in the YouTube video, and leave a thumbs up. See you in the next video.